A lot of things start with frustrations, right? So, I'm starting to hear, I went to a school called Oakland College. That's a college that Take Six and Brian McKnight and a lot of these guys went to. So it's a music school, and I'm starting to hear all these crazy kind of chords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so just kind of like, man, my chords are basic. You know what I mean? Like you compare your stuff to the stuff that you're hearing, and a lot of times you'll see that gap. So I think that kind of started that journey of just trying to find out, okay, so what's wrong with me? Why don't my chords sound like other people?
Right.
And just trying to figure things out. And that's kind of how the journey kind of got started.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So I guess from that stage, what brought you into, obviously you went the teaching route, but then as a teacher, what made you want to make this website in the first place? Because it seems like such a giant undertaking. What year, like when did you decide that you wanted to even make this website?
Well, let me go into some because this is a kind of like an evolution of things, how things happened, right?
Right. Okay.
Because as a musician, we all want to be musicians, right? So like anybody else, I wanted to be a musician, but then I had a family. I had with the prompting and forcing of my dad, I went to another subject, so I could take care of the family. Gotcha. It kind of felt like music was on the back burner.
Which happens to so many people, it's said.
Yeah.
Correct. And I want to get, maybe a bit later, I can tell you, I have a theory about that in terms of how
I would really love to hear about that, for sure.
But, I kind of found out that I had a knack for teaching.
Okay.
Right? So, everywhere I would teach, people would always be like, oh, he's the best teacher. You need to take his class,
Right.
So this was happening. And even when I was playing in music in college, people will be like, man, you need to go talk to Sean. Like, this is before any website. This is 15 years, 20 years before a website. People would always say, man, you just need to go talk to Sean. But I always thought it was because, I never thought anything about it because I always thought it was because a lot of the other musicians, maybe not, they kind of weren't wanting to share their chords, where I was just like, I was always trying to figure out stuff, so I just figured they were asking me that. But a lot of people come back to me decades later, man, Sean, remember that time you told me? They remember the location they were at, they remember what they were doing, and they told me when I explained such and such, they remembered it for a long time. But at that time, I wasn't thinking that it wasn't a gift or anything. I was just kind of like, that was just me. So back to your question about the website. To be honest with you, man, that wasn't something that was organic, man. This whole thing, my YouTube channel, my website, everything has just been very organic for me.
Incredible.
Me just trying to put my story out there, what I'm doing out there, and just people are just like, the more people eat up my stuff, it's like, man, we want more.
Yeah, for sure.
So I give them more and then they want more. And so it just kind of evolved like that, as far as the website. I'll tell you this, I never would have thought that right now, even 10 years ago, that I would have almost 40,000 people, on my musicians on YouTube. Right.
Congratulations.
Thousands of people listening to me every week and hundreds of people signing up to a membership site. It just kind of blows my mind in terms of how this whole thing came to be.
That's amazing. When did you notice the ramp? When did you realize that the website was actually not a problem, but like was actually taking off?
Yeah, that's funny, man. I noticed that. Well, to be honest with you, I think that the issue is that I just was going to go all in regardless of whether
it was
going to take off. You understand what I'm saying? Like for me, because I always tell people, and I try to keep myself grounded, so I have my own notes. And in the morning when I wake up, I kind of remind myself why I do stuff. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, so for me, it's me being committed to this whole thing. You understand? Right. And so I think that comes out in my teaching, that it's something that I enjoy. Something that I like. And then the business part of it is second. I do want to run a successful business.
Yeah.
But at the heart of it is the why. You know what I'm saying? Why I'm doing it.
Right.
And my purpose of doing it. And so for me, I would have been fine with 20 people. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it would have been a time trade-off. You know, I probably would have only done like 5 minutes a week. But when hundreds of people came in, as soon as I opened, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
What's going on? So, I mean, it got so successful. I mean, I had to quit jobs left and right because I had like 5. And, you know, as musicians, I had like different teaching jobs, different music jobs, gigs, all that kind of stuff. But the thing, it got so successful, I was having to turn away work. And
that's a good problem. Yeah,
that's a great problem to have.
It's like that to this day. So, yeah, man.
That's understandable, man. And the interesting thing about your teaching, just from being one of your students now, your methods cater to, seems like every level of understanding, from like very basic beginner right on up. How do you make that, like, how do you work that in? How do you make that happen, that you can reach every different level through this type of platform?
Okay, so I think this would be a great time to go into my different, at least my view of musicians, right? So,
okay.
Now,
teacher moment. There you go.
Yeah, this is my teacher moment. Now, I have a very unique view, so you have to kind of hear me out here.
Sure, take your time.
Yeah.
And I'm developing it. So I believe that there are basically 3 categories of musicians, and I don't think I've ever said this publicly, so you guys will be the kind of first to hear this. But I believe that musicians tend to go in either a performance route. That's the first one. The second one is they can go into a production route.
Right.
And the third one is anyone dealing with analytics or teaching or in some way analyzing how music works.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. So when we think of performance route, we're thinking Corey Henry, we're thinking Chick Corea, you know, Herbie Hancock. These are people who they get on the stage and that's their love. You know what I mean? They get on that stage and they love to do it and they're very good at it.
Yeah.
True.
Okay. And then you have people who are in production route, and these are people who love putting music together. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, it doesn't mean they can't perform, but their love is probably in the studio, in Logic, in some kind of a DAW. You know what I'm saying? Putting the stuff together, making all the music come together and seeing how it sounds. Okay? Then the third one is the teaching one, and their love is just kind of analyzing it. It could be teaching, but it could also be just kind of breaking things down, and which is what I'm a category of. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
We need all 3 types of musicians, right? And so one of the things that I found, you know, a lot of people, when I would first start, they would try to push me to do something else. Man, you need to come out with an album. Man, you need to get on stage. And I'm realizing that, no, but that's not, you know, when you're in the area that you really need to be in, your heart will tell you, because, you know, if somebody has you on stage, but you want to be in the studio, you're going to kind of feel that pull. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
If you are teaching music, but you really want to be on stage, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're going to be talking like, man, I really want to just be on stage, or I really want to be in the studio. So it kind of, you're going to naturally know where you should be. So,
and how long, sorry to cut you off, how long do you think that takes an artist to identify, or someone that plays an instrument to identify?
I think it's a hard thing, and like I said, this is still something that I haven't even put a YouTube video on this out yet, because it's just something that is evolving for me as I'm realizing. Like, I feel like musicians just kind of naturally go into one of those areas, you know. But I think, in my opinion, though, you're gonna excel more if you're working in the area that you naturally fit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Completely. Yeah.
So for
and you can
me,
see that with a musician that's trying to teach, that doesn't want to teach. There's no love in the teaching. They're just doing it for the
or
paycheck.
they'll try to grab performers. They'll try to grab high performers and say, "Y'all explain what you did." You understand what I'm saying?
And that's not there.
See, this explains a lot of stuff, because just because somebody's a high performer doesn't mean they can now sit down and have the gift of analyzing all that stuff.
Great point.
I think you can add to that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. There was a delay. This will keep on happening. I think you can add to that the third group you mentioned has to teach 1,000 students before one of them ends up going into the other two groups.
So, like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah,
well,
break that down.
without the third group, there wouldn't be groups 1 and 2.
correct.
So many people,
Correct.
So many people have
Correct.
to go through that gate and through that gauntlet before they even and you have to encourage them to get there. So
That's
it's, right. It's just
very
interesting.
Yeah,
how-
that's a very excellent point, because there's no high performing musician ever who got there by themselves.
Right.
It's probably some lone teacher somewhere who nobody even heard of,
Yeah, yeah.
who probably kills on the piano and stuff, but we never, because performance may not be their
Forte.
area of expertise, but they can help, they can mold that person and shape them, and they can hear what they're doing and say, "Nah, what are you doing? What are you playing right now? That doesn't fit." You know, that's those teacher gift people.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
100%.
That's interesting.
So that's why I said, "Oh, okay." So because I found out, and that's why I made that story I did earlier about people saying, "Man, Sean, you helped me so much."
Yeah.
At the time, if I had the wisdom I had now, I would have known back then. Oh, okay, my good area is in developing musicians. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Then I could have put all my energy into just kind of honing that skill.
Right.
But I was, I wanted to be like other musicians, just be on the stage,
Yeah.
So I think part of it is just kind of me just kind of recognizing, okay, this is my area. Let's become an expert at what I'm going to do. And so, I found that things, when you're operating in the area that you're naturally good at, you get stuff much faster.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Big point.
You get stuff. It comes to you so much easier. I'm up here. Now, let me say this. I haven't taken one music class in school, and I haven't taken one theory class. And when I started my YouTube channel, I would research before. This is at the beginning, before I would when I would first come out with a video. I would research the theory of whatever I was teaching. Look at this chord or whatever, and I would research it for like 5 minutes, and I'd be like, "Oh, okay." Now I like stop watching it, and then I would teach it, and then all these people who had taken theory, gone to school for music, are like, "Oh man, you helped me so much." But see, a lot of this is when you're operating in that area that you're supposed to be in.
A lot of you are familiar with the DNA Project and have been rocking with us for a while, but some of you aren't. A lot of you are faithful listeners of the podcast, but aren't familiar with some of the other work that we do. So I just want to take a quick moment to explain to you a little bit more of what we do. So you're getting married, or you have a friend, a cousin, a sister, somebody you know is getting married. Okay. You've booked your venue, caterers, photographer, all that good stuff. When it comes to live music, most people have no idea where to look. We have you covered. Picture this. During the ceremony, while guests are being seated, or while the bride's walking down the aisle. During the cocktail hour, while guests are just mingling and having a good time. Don't forget about dinner music. That's very important to set the mood while guests eat. And we definitely can't forget the party. Let's get the party started right now with the DNA Project. www.thednaproject.ca for more information.